Hello, friends, and welcome to my Pecha Kucha presentation. My name is Tarissa Ensminger, and I decided to choose the very cheery subject of prison relationships to discuss. And the main reason why I chose this is I actually have a criminal justice minor, so I find all of this stuff beyond fascinating, so let's just jump right in. For my presentation, I decided to take almost a two-prong approach to dealing with it. So I want to discuss relationships that existed before incarceration and those that actually kind of grew within the confines of each individual prison. So I will discuss in further detail why I chose the pictures that I did, but for right now, let's get a baseline first. So in our federal and state prison systems, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics in 2016, there were over 1,500,000 inmates in our systems. And this is super important, just getting a baseline of how many people does this actually apply to in the grander scheme of things. And again, this is federal and state. And if you want to look at just federal, we have almost 180,000 inmates in our systems, and 93% of those are male. And the percentages to the right of the screen are actually the percentages of offenses. So 46% of inmates in federal are there for drug offenses, 18 weapon offense, and 9 sex offenses. Now on to the first kind of prong of this presentation. So inmates that were in relationships before they got to prison, whether that be marriage, whether that just be relationship, common law, all of those fun things. So many variables influence how these last, how they don't last, and how they just spread over time. And specifically for married couples, there is the deal of conjugal visits, or they are now being known as family visits. And conjugal or family visits are just prolonged visits with the inmate and their spouse or children that can last anywhere from 1 hour to about 48 hours. And these visits are really on the decline. As of 2015, only 4 states allowed them anymore, and those were California, Connecticut, and New York, and Washington. And out of those 4, only California allowed homosexual spouses and couples to have conjugal or family visits. And there are a lot of merits and disadvantages to these. So one of the merits for conjugal visits or family visits is actually lowering recidivism rates. And recidivism is just a fancy term for when an inmate is released, do they go back to a life of crime? And if an inmate is in prison and they are having connection with the outside world, this could lower their rate of going right back to what they knew. Another advantage for conjugal or family visits is actually the reduction of prison violence. If a prisoner has something to look forward to, such as a family visit, they're going to act right so that right does not get taken away. If they have the potential of seeing their wife, their husband, or their children, they're going to act right. And then divorce rates within married couples. According to the Florida State Criminology Department, the couples before or after one of the parties are in jail are 32% more likely to get divorced. Again, that's before or after. So it definitely has an increase. And now on to the second part of this presentation, relationships that actually start within prison. And the first part of this is actually inmate and staff relationships. And I chose this picture not only to show how grossly misinformed Orange is the New Black is, but also to show that this is more than just an abuse of power. Staff and inmate relationships include 48% of sexual victimization within prison. And the other side of that coin is if 48% is staff and inmate victimization, 52% is inmate and inmate victimization. And this picture is actually from an interview that I linked about how this couple is actually, one is a former neo-Nazi and the other comes from Jewish descent. So it just shows the really big variety of prison relationships. And one of the biggest reasons why people get into relationships within the prison system is not only for the sexual component, because that could be taken away whenever you move, but just companionship. Prison can be such an isolating experience that having someone there that knows what you're going through and can be there for you is so imperative to your mental health. And one of the biggest lessons that prisoners who partake in relationships learn very quickly is to set realistic goals. You do not know what your life will be like in 5 days, let alone 5 years whenever you're released. So setting realistic goals and taking it day by day is very, very crucial, and a lot of inmates know this. As such, the documentaries that I linked below. Within the prison population, there is a very big disparity between sexual minorities and those who are not. 9.3% of all male inmates identify, and 42.1% of females do. And not only does this put them at a risk for sexual victimization within prison, it just shows the disparity within sentencing. So now hearing all of those super fun statistics, now you may understand how many more obstacles you have to face in prison than in the outside world. You have sentencing decisions and parole and whether you can take a conjugal visit or not. But at the end of the day, we're all human, so relationships are going to be messy. And thank you so much again for watching. I linked a couple documentaries that I watched that are super, super interesting right here, and a couple more of my resources such as the Bureau of Justice Statistics and the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So thank you all very much, and good luck to you in your spring semester.